Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for returning for another episode of Beyond the Cape HQ. We're going to dive into the Marvelization of the superhero fandom, something I've pretty much just called what I see in cinema, specifically places like Star Wars, DC, and some other Marvel films, how Marvel is just essentially trying to take over and make everything Marvel, pretty much. So whatever fault this is, you could blame whoever you want, but here it is. We're going to dive first into Star Wars with Star Wars The Last Jedi, which is the 8th installment of the series, but the second installment for the sequel trilogy, for the second sequel trilogy, for those who want those kind of specifics. So it's the joke where Poe Dameron is flying up in the X-Wing to the First Order ship, and he makes the joke about General Hux's mother. So that didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but here we're going to watch the video together and then we'll break it down.
Happy beats here, buddy. Come on. We pulled crazier stunts than this.
Just for the record, Commander Dameron, I'm with the droid on this one.
Thank you for your support, General.
Happy beats.
I gotta say, I do like my guy Oscar Isaac. He's great in everything I've seen him
I have an
in.
urgent communique for General Hux.
Patch him through.
And the visuals and
This is General Hux of the First
great
Order.
with Star Wars
the
all
Republic
around.
is no more. Your fleet are rebel scum and war criminals. Tell your precious princess there will be no terms. There will be no surrender.
Doesn't make sense.
Hi, I'm holding for General Hux.
This is Hux. You and your friends are doomed. We will wipe your filth from the galaxy.
Okay, I'll hold.
Hello?
I'm not laughing.
Oh, yep.
Even these guys know it's a joke. They know it.
Can he hear me?
I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's not. This is not
He's an
Star
H,
Wars.
Skinny guy, kind of pasty.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Look, I can't hold forever. If you reach him, tell him Leia has an urgent
Message for him
I believe he's tooling with you, sir.
about his mother.
Then he loses his mind.
BB-8, punch it!
I mean, I don't get this. This is not Star Wars to me. It's never been Star Wars. There's a reason why this does not fit a Star Wars universe narrative, because humor does not exist like this in Star Wars, nor does it ever have. Where it belongs more with Marvel because it works. It works with those type of characters and those people. I mean, if this was the Empire, Poe Dameron's X-Wing would have been blown out of space itself. They wouldn't have wasted time talking to him. So, but moving on from here, further in the film, you got the scene or scenes where the characters Finn and Rose are searching the casino city on Canto Bight. That's the planet they're on, and they're trying to search for the Master Codebreaker who could help them fight against the First Order and really just to get away, which is all they're trying to do in this film. But they soon discover that Canto Bight is like Grand Central Station for the people who are making weapons for the First Order and the Republic. What? Why? It's not something you would see in a typical Star Wars film. That whole storyline doesn't make sense to me, because if you think if people were making ships for both sides, the war would be on equal standing. Probably money involved or credits. But still, it seems like something that was fully taken out of Captain America Winter Soldier for me, with how Captain America is working so hard for S.H.I.E.L.D., but he later finds out that he's actually working for Hydra, and he has to destroy them because he's working for the wrong people. So, yeah, again, not Star Wars. So Rian Johnson, if you could just go back to making movies about knives and stay the heck away from Star Wars, you're a lot better at that. If you know, you know. All right, now we're switching gears, and we're going to go into some DC films, about 2 of them to be specific. The first one being Joss Whedon's take of the Justice League. I got to say, I have a lot of built-up rage and anger for this man and what he did and how he did Zack Snyder dirty, and that whole project was horrible. And I'm going to break that down for you guys, but you guys could do your own research and figure it out for yourselves. But if you don't know, Zack Snyder had to walk away from the making of the Justice League because his kid or his daughter committed suicide. My prayers and thoughts still go out to the Snyder family, because you don't walk away from something like that unscarred. That being said, let's just break it down for you. All right, first off, how I want to do this is showing you not just from a perspective of my own, but from those who were behind the actual making of the film. Okay. First of which is Zack Snyder himself. So this from Screen Rant. Zack Snyder wanted to keep the Justice League at his own vision, but Warner Brothers wanted it to be more like a Marvel film. Okay, not the right choice. Despite not having seen the Whedon version, Snyder says, and if it was up to me, I doubt the guy would ever see it. Snyder doesn't believe that going in the Marvel direction was the right choice or the right answer. Snyder and his team care deeply about their work and were trying not to just make simply another Marvel film. Now I want to transition to another person who I have a lot of respect on in making this film. Somewhat different. So, Justice League screenwriter Chris Terrio. He was also the executive producer of the Zack Snyder's Justice League. Finally speaks out on the embattled film, calling the Whedon's take of the theatrical cut of the Justice League an act of vandalism. It's pretty straightforward. Terrio is the writer behind Zack Snyder's Justice League and Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. He does many other projects as well, such as Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, Argo, which was also directed by Ben Affleck, so he's worked with him a lot, for which he won an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. Okay. A lot of credit with his name. He is co-credited with the theatrical version of the Justice League alongside Whedon. However, one excerpt that I have from the Screen Rant, it says how Chris Terrio wanted his name, like they say in the court system, stricken from the record. He did not want to be associated with this film at all, but the studios told him no, because the release already came out and was already out there for the public to see, but he hates it. Furthermore, the saga behind Justice League is well known by now, with the original movie being rewritten by Whedon, who was brought on by Warner Brothers after the success of the Avengers film, and the second one, which is the Avengers Age of Ultron movies by Marvel. The original director designer eventually left the project, which we all know, which is the reason why. Warner Brothers hired Whedon to do extensive reshoots on the movie. What followed was reportedly terrible reshoots and a period of time that they all had. Two people specifically, Ray Fisher, the actor who portrayed Victor Stone or Cyborg, and Gal Gadot, the wonderful woman who portrayed Diana Prince or Wonder Woman, were subject to abuse nonstop, on set, off set, all the time. And a vastly different movie, Justice League, bombed in the end, and Snyder's version was only seen recently after it was released on HBO Max following a $70 million investment by Warner Brothers. All along, Terrio has remained silent on the saga, but that is finally ended. To end it all up, speaking to Vanity Fair, Terrio has finally revealed what happened during his time working on DC. It doesn't mince words, calling the theatrical version of the Justice League, like we know, an act of vandalism. But he believes and knows Zack Snyder very well, and he says he might be so much of a gentleman to openly insult the film, but Terrio is not. In his opinion, it was an act of vandalism, and it vandalized their entire project that they cared so deeply about, and that while he doesn't think that their expanded version was perfect, it was crazy in the best of way. And I love the way he put that, because it's absolutely accurate. My jaw was open the entire time I saw it. You can read this full description on Screen Rant on your own, by your own choosing. And there's much more to read that I just did not have the time to put here on this episode. So all in all, the point I want to drive home is Zack Snyder, He just knows DC Comics just like Kevin Feige does, or the Russo brothers, who are constantly crushing it over in Marvel. Why couldn't they make Zack Snyder like the head of DC films like they did Kevin Feige for Marvel films? He would have been a powerhouse. And there's no reason they need to make DC like Marvel or Marvel like DC. Like, they're their own entity and they exist on their own on purpose. Let's keep it that way. I know I could probably do a whole entire segment or video or episodes, rather, on the Justice League, but we'll save that for a later time. All right, next film I want to talk about is The Suicide Squad. There's two of them out there. The first one by David Ayer and the second one by James Gunn. What I hear from most people when they talk or rave about these films is they love the one by James Gunn, and you hear very little mention of the one directed by David Ayer. Why is that? Because in my eyes, David Ayer's cut crushed it. I've always been a release the Ayer cut or in support of release the Snyder cut before it was actually a thing, and definitely a restore the Snyderverse to get all that stuff back. To get all that awesomeness just back into cinema, so we could get really good movie making and screenplay and just stuff that's right for DC. Because at the heart of it all, I believe a lot like Zack Snyder, David Ayer really understands DC Comics and DC, what it needs to have, that edge, that darkness, that level of grit that DC films want and need to have in them. And then you got James Gunn's Suicide Squad film, and that just seemed flashy, flamboyant, and just really out there. And a lot of weird chemistry amongst the characters. I felt like the chemistry amongst the characters in David Ayer's cut was more DC worthy, and it incited kind of fear in the soldiers around them. That was cool and that was dope. I like that. But now you have James Gunn, who kills off some of the main characters of the Suicide Squad film at the start of the movie, like Captain Boomerang. And you don't even have characters like Deadshot, who is one of the main characters and who provides some of the leadership behind the Suicide Squad movie. But you just throw in two characters who could do the same thing that Deadshot can. Tell me that's not a shot in the face. No pun intended there. So, James Gunn, I'm glad you crushed it with Guardians of the Galaxy. We all love those films. But can you just stay the hell away from DC? But since you can't, I'm really praying and hoping for a better future for DC films. Because what you did with Superman, I'm not going to be holding my breath. You're not off to a great start. That's just in my personal opinion. All right, bringing it home with Marvel films. A couple of them, but first one that I have up here is Spider-Man No Way Home. So there's a thing at the start of the film that just got me out of my seat when I saw it in theaters. I'm like, no way he just said that. All right, here it is.
I'm Spider-Man's best friend. You come at my boy, you come at Flash Thompson. If you want to read about our inspiring friendship, you can now in my new book, Flashpoint. One spider, two hearts, a million crazy-ass memories. Check it out.
Are they paying Jeff Johns the royalties for this? Because that's Flashpoint, not Flash Thompson's hopeful attempt of creating a self-proposed or fake relationship between him and Peter Parker, who is Spider-Man in the film, and talking about their awesomeness that they had as friends. No, you're ripping off DC, and it's bullcrap. Like, when it's apparent writing like this, it just shows for bad penmanship and bad screenplay, because it seems like you don't have anything better to write about than rip off DC. That's just what I think. Now, there is a brighter side to this video. Something I want to end it off with. I want to end it off with a hoot. Because as much as I care deeply and love Marvel films. And trust me, you're going to see me go to bat for that as well. But I just wanted to kick things off because if it wasn't for DC, I wouldn't be the nerd that's sitting before you today. So let's just start from my roots. But in this film, I believe the DC comments are actually good and noteworthy from a specific Marvel film that we're going to show now.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Ryan Reynolds crushed this role, by the way.
Who are you? I'm Batman.
Okay, one more too, okay? Just wait.
So dark. You sure you're not from the DC universe?
Okay, there's a reason why I can appreciate this a little bit more, because some DC characters have this as well that I could bring up in later episodes, but the character Deadpool, unlike many other characters in comics, he's able to break that fourth wall and shatter it completely. It's that metaphorical wall that exists between reality and comics, or like stuff that's not real, and speak directly to the audience. And that's why I can applaud this type of screenplay writing, because I think it's pretty cool to give nods and shout outs like this. It makes a little bit more sense because this shows for good screenplay. And that's a wrap on this episode of the Marvelization of the superhero fandom. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. I'd love to hear your comments in the below. If you guys want to write those in, I'd love to read them and just keep it respectful, as I always aim to do as well. If I didn't agree with someone here in this episode, I definitely paid credit to where it was due. The stuff and the projects that they're doing right, and stuff that they actually just crush at. So just keep that up. All right, guys. Ryan signing off for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and hope you guys have a great weekend ahead. God bless. Stay safe.